Okay, so this is episode number 100, and that's a little bit special. And I will put some stats that Raluca sent to me on social media, but we're still working on them. We're trying to sort of get them to work, and then later on, hopefully, we will do some individual stats. All the people I really wanted as guests today were not available. My preferred guest was actually Boris Dimitrievsky, who's one of our members, but he's at work and had to work late because he was my favorite because he has completed all 100 homework, so that was something special. But I also asked some other members, and I chose not to go for Sam. Sam was available. Sam has solved his homework. He scored 875, which is the top score. On social media, the one we put up said 975, but then I realized that position number 7 was from Sam's game, and he didn't actually play the right game in the right move in the game, so I took the point away from him. So 875 is the top score. Other GMs have also done this sheet, so yeah, that's brutal. Fair enough, but come on, he had the position and he got it wrong. What more would you want? Okay, so here in the first position is black to play, and there's a few things that can go wrong. If we play bishop f3, white doesn't take it and allow checkmate, but rook f1 and the bishop's lost. We play king e8, bishop d3, and try now bishop f3. There's a check here. So for this reason, we have king e7. And bishop takes, and now if we go into some sort of exchange sacrifice here, like this, these kind of things, they're just not working. Black's fighting for draw, and he's not going to be successful. But here we have bishop f3, and this time it works. If rook f1 and bishop e4, and we repeat moves. So that's nothing special. And if rook e1, preventing bishop e4, but getting out of the pin, getting out of the threat. Of course, this is clear. Getting out of the threat, we can now take on g2. And we get into a drawn rook ending. And this was how the game finished. And the draw was agreed. Okay, the next position here is a candidate move exercise, and if you see it, you see it, and everything will work out. Work out easily after this. If you don't see it, you don't see it. So 1 e6 doesn't work. After takes, let's say rook e1, we have queen d6, and after rook h6, we have rook d6, and it's not working. There are other things like g4 doesn't work because queen takes d4, and the pieces are not really getting there in time. But in this position, we have bishop f6. Let's take the box out of the way here. And there are many other suggestions. But if you see it, you see it. Okay, so here rook f8 is a possibility. And here white has a number of ways to continue the attack. g4 makes a lot of sense. And if take now, then take here. And for example, check, and here, and there's no way for black to deal with this. You could play rook f7, but I don't think it makes any difference. I think it's also time to resign. Yeah. So takes. Maybe this is not so clear, you say. So something like here. No, it's an interesting variation. Interesting. So this there it's quite common that further complexities here arise. I can see we have one new name in the chat. Oh, welcome. Here, white is about to play rook e1 and take on c6 and rook e8. I'm happy to check here rook f7. If we'll check with the engine here to save a little time to see if somehow I'm entirely wrong. Also, no, I'm happy with e6. Yeah, happy with e6 and takes, and would take, and it seems, I don't know, it seems quite reasonable for white optically. Aha, okay, so black has 95 with the idea of 97, but here the pressure stays on. And not so easy to evaluate. I agree entirely with Aracha here. But I still think this looks pretty winning. White is playing f4, f5, I guess. And black's entirely closed down. Okay, so the main point about bishop f6 is to take, then comes e6, takes on rook e1, bishop e4, and then we take with the bishop. And it's a big winning attack here. And also in this variation, white's a pawn down, but there's some pawns, not least the one of all them, the one on h7. So for example, we can have some positions like this here where white has continued attack, but it is really bad situation for black, even if white is down material. Okay, my main line went here, 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 and mate. That was potentially not the right main line. The other one should have been maybe this one. Okay, let's go to the next one. Black to play. There was a lot of inventive suggestions here. For example, knight takes f4, which was played in the game. Then after bishop takes and check, white played f3. And the game went like here, and here g5 would have been very, very strong. And black would have won the game like this, for example. Instead, he took the perpetual, and similar to it, and here they ended with a draw. But in this position here, white should play king h2. It's a much stronger move. Now if bishop d4, queen e7, rook e8, queen d6. So in game like this, where the a pawn is very strong, is an option. There was also another try here that a lot of people had, which was this. And here, it should be said here, the queen f3 and rook d5 is not mate. There's no obvious follow-up. But bishop d4, queen e7, bishop f2. And here the strongest move is rook b1. Rook out of the way, ready for counterplay. And one variation here is this. And white is not worse, for example, here and perpetual. So it's a huge mess. Aracha says that he liked g5. After take, and here, black is better. But again, it's not completely over. So rook d6 would be the idea. But here white can play king g1 and It's worse, but it's not over. So this this idea here, King G1 is very important. But when you see it, then Queen C6 is simply over. So if there's King H2, then Queen C2 is devastating, takes, and over. And if taken D5, check. It's a much worse version than before. Here. The difference is the bishop is hanging. So when we had the variation after knight takes F4, see if I can scroll back to it easily enough. We had take on F2. Here, it's simply white to play here, and it's in time for Rook B1 and some counterplay, either with Queen takes D8 and Rook B8, or with Rook B5 as we saw. But if we have this position here with white to play, there's nothing. Now we have time to take on A5, it's 2 pawns up, it's totally lost. There's nothing more to play for. Okay, let me just turn off this thing here. Aagaard says, this is the most interesting one for me. I even set it up on the board. You should be doing that with all of them. Okay, this is a very, very difficult position. So there was many, you should put all the positions up on the board. And try to solve them. Also, Akko said that. So there was 2 or 3 that solved this one. Both the 2700s who tried this homework failed to solve it. So what's really difficult to understand is that after something like knight F4, it doesn't matter which one it is really, because you get the same position after check and knight F4. You get some position here where here there's an intermediate move, threatening knight D2 and knight F3 check, so preventing that. And you get an endgame like this, which is not so easy. Of course, white has good chances. There's a lot of counterplay. So this is sort of like second best solution. In the game, he played knight b4, rook a5, and here rook c1 still gives an advantage. He played knight c3, and here black could have given up a piece. And very serious drawing chances here, if not simply making a draw. In the game, black played knight e7, and white won the game. And here the counterplay has been repelled. Rook d1 in the beginning, not so bad. Rook b5 looks interesting, but here, and black's not worse at all. So there's a lot of things like that. There's so many counterplay, but the main thing to understand here, and it's very difficult, is that this is the idea, or to c4, as we saw, and that the knight ideally wants to go somewhere from there to there. Somehow I didn't manage to make this. This is what the knight wants to do. And if that happens, then black will make a draw. But we can prevent this with knight c3, rook a3, and knight b5, which is really great. Now, if black just does nothing, we can come round. The knight now cannot go to d6, as we can see quite easily. And if it goes like this, followed by king f2 and king takes f3, the position is 100% winning. No doubt about it. Yeah, Racho said for a long time he thought this didn't work because of this, which is correct. But here this is important, and of course, the whole thing is built on this very nice tactical thing. So this is probably the most difficult exercise we've had for quite a while. And here the rook's trapped and the position is winning. Okay. This here is also very interesting. A lot of you came with interesting ideas in the game. White lost very quickly like this, which is not advisable. If we rush and give the check, there's no attack. A main variation here is here we have check here. And white is not gonna escape the checks. Also, things like this is not going to escape counterplay. There's knight c1, knight b3, for example, something like this, and the king is not escaping the counterplay again. I think king b3 here might even be very bad. And there were other variations with counterplay, but b4 immediately. Now there's some simple points. First of all, here we exchange queens on c5 on the next move. Taking the rook does not work. Here, for example, picking up the knight, the c pawn is very strong, it's a winning position. If knight e2, we play king d2, taking king d1. And the knight is really in trouble. At the same time, we have queen c8 coming. So here I really struggle for variations. I have this, but it doesn't make a sense. So I should stop right here and winning. And yeah, there's no queen d4 check because we can exchange queens. That's the main difference. The queen on g4 prevents this check. The most challenging line is not this one. We had this, but it is c takes b4. Yeah, just because you lose a rook, you shouldn't stop. There's still checks, you know. Here, for example, this line, totally winning. And eventually white will take this one, and the f pawn is delivering a free win here. There's nothing left to play for. It's just over. So quite tricky. The last one is one of the best ones we had for a very long time. And it's a kill zone position. Of course it is. So in the game, Rooted Makarian, 25-23 rated GM, played check, here, and f4. And after check, and queen b3, there's no check on h3, there's nothing, and he played some moves. And white resigned. So the black king needs to be checkmated. It's very natural not to take the pawn. At the same time, it was also natural to take the pawn. The knight needs to go to e8, yes. Now, if we play f4, it's important to play king h4. Because if we play king g4, there's check, takes, and queen h6. And mate is unavoidable. But king h4, apologies. Here, black defends against the mate, and this is just nothing. The next move is queen e2. For example, here, queen e2. And it's just over. So we need something else. We could try this knight f6 idea, and then follow up at f4 and queen h6, but bishop d3. And here we have a big mess. And this position here is, yeah, big mess. So we have one more option here which should be considered, which is check. If king g4, we have a lovely check here, and a check here, and a check here, and a check there, threatening queen g3, and check. So king takes h4. So this is the time to find the move. See you later, Raja. It's not king h2, no. Yes, Ashia, you're right. Anyone else? Yes, Akko? No, Liam. If rook d4 check, then king g5, and the king is escaping. Yes, queen h6. Don't allow the king to escape. And here I have this move. There are other possibilities, but nothing works. For example, here, rook e2, knight f6, and mate is coming. Here it's very difficult to defend against g3 and f3. Can't think of anything. Let's try queen e4. G3, king g4. What then? f3, queen takes f3. I would play rook d4 immediately. And then after takes, we have checkmate. Okay, so page 2 was looking into various types of dynamics. Now this one is king safety. White has the advantage because he has an extra pawn, and black does not have a setup that at the moment allows him to open up the king and attack the white king. So if we can keep it like that, white is better. Sam, in this position here, we saw another version of it last week. He played king c1, and this is the computer's preference of sort of kicking the queen away and then making some threats. And this is real counterplay. The white king is not safe in the center, not at all. And if we play knight d5, something like this, again, the king is not really safe in the center. We can force an endgame, but it's going to be an endgame with without real winning chances. Here, for example, there's this fun line, and here the engine prefers repetition, which is quite ironic. Hi, Boris. How are you doing? How was work? Okay, so for this reason, the strongest move is king a1. Keep the king in the corner and keep everything safe. I tried, this is my keyboard variation. Here I would play this on general understanding, try to see if there was a refutation against it. I don't see that there is one. This is me clicking on the keyboard and putting the queen on d1, and now we're ready for f4 and f5 and rook e1. Play nice and easy, and white just has a big advantage. It's a pawn up. We're not hurrying taking on a4. We're more trying to coordinate our pieces, maybe force some exchanges, and then in the end, if pieces come off, white has a massive advantage. This one here was very tricky, and a lot of people got this wrong, including black in the game. So I should say the previous position was Sam's own game, and Sam got the rest of page 2 right. On page 1, he made 375, so he's our week's top scorer. It was a hard position. So I gave it to another very strong grandmaster, and he made 6 out of 12. And for example, Boris made more. So it's definitely possible to think of this like a one game against the grandmaster, and you did better. So first of all, d5 has sort of this thematic view of it. If after take, we take on d5, now b4 coming is a disaster. This is going to be very painful. If we take with the knight on b5, then after bishop c5, again, open lines. Black's going to put the queen on b6. It's not very pleasant. There's a lot of way for black to fight for the light squares. If we take on b5, which, given a few more moves to white, would be a very nice strategic way of putting the pieces, it's not going to work because black's first with real pressure of d4 and bishop takes c3. In the game, white played c5, and if the bishop retreats, then white is better. But black can play b4, and now if the knight goes somewhere, let's say here, this is a real disaster for white. Now there's queen d5 coming, and everything is opening up and is painful. So here white took here in the game, and here black's better. Simply better. The white king is open, the black pieces are just fine. There's not really any positive about the white position. If we have here, then here already, because of knight e6 coming to f4, the engine says that the best move to only stay slightly worse is this, which is kind of a grim thing. So he already here black's probably better. So that leaves us with very few options. We don't want to get hit in the head with this pawn, but we can take it. And here there's not any great reason to say this, that we shouldn't take it. If we get to take the rook as well, we'll take that as well. If rook e7, something like this, playing h3 afterwards, playing king a1, it looks like a very serious advantage to me. White can play a4 in some situation, doesn't want to rush doing it. He can play bishop c6. Generally, for black to make a dent in the white position, it requires some work. Bishop d7 is maybe a little bit more natural, leaving the e6 square for the knight. But again here, it just seems much nicer for white. It's pawn up, which does matter. It's not quite the same pawn structure as the game with Sam. It's actually it's a worse pawn structure for black. White has this pass pawn in d file. It's not so easy to organize an attack against b3 or a3. It's for me, it's simply a big advantage. Pawn up, the king's in the center. It's not always the right choice to reject material. Sometimes we need to take it. Okay, this one is a lot of people did sort of overthinking here. But it's the usual thing, really. There's no defenders around the king. All the white pieces are ready. There's no yellow pieces here. So it's time to find something brutal. And one of the techniques we know from attacking chess is attack the strongest square. There is no pleasant way to take this pawn. If black takes it with the d pawn, we have knight f6, rook d7 coming. If he takes it with the f pawn, we can take an e7, destroy everything. And here either check first or check afterwards, it doesn't really matter. And here white has a huge attack, can be played in several ways. For example, like this. And it is time to resign. But you don't need to see this. It's enough to see this and think, here, this is going to hurt, and at least perpetual. So after e5, black can try it, bishop e6. We can take on f6. We don't take on d6 because here this combination isn't working. There's a number of ways. Sometimes queen a8, as we shall see, in a very similar position below. But right here, the queen is well placed and there's no problem. If ef6, here, there's a number of tries. Let's say rook takes, we take, and here queen g5 is very nice. This here, again, doesn't work. It looks very strong, but after queen a8, the f8 square is under control. But just queen g5, there's a check on g7, there's bishop hanging on d5. After taking back, white hasn't paid anything for destroying black's pawn structure. So here queen f3 is a possible move. We can also play queen e4. But to me, this is very simple. And white will follow up with a move like queen d3 or just g3 and h4 or h4 first. There's many ways where this can lead to a winning position. Just don't exchange queens. The key line is therefore bishop takes, and after check takes, yeah, threatening the bishop on d5. There's a few lines like here, take back the pawn piece. If ef6 and check, and here, and this is a big attack. And you don't need certainty to play something like this. But here g4 does win. On the spot, the bishop cannot move because of rook d6 check, and otherwise queen f5 and take the bishop. But the main thing is here not to overthink. This is weak. All the black pieces here are not fighting for the important squares. Because we also have, let's say, here and here. None of these pieces control any of these squares in the defense. It's an entirely naked king. Okay. Here, it's important to realize that black is threatening bishop c8. So if you're slow, bishop c8 is a strong move in many moves. In the game, white played queen g2, and then the c pawn was hanging. And here there was a nice way to win immediately, which is based on tactics. Knight e3 and take on g7, and then later on we have knight e8. But this here was also a big advantage. And after this, which was also a bit much, black won the game. So almost everything black plays bishop c8. But we have rook d6. Here we must take, otherwise the knight on b6 is gone. And we take here. And it's very difficult to find a move. First of all, we have the threat of the check here. And let's say something like queen d7, here, here, and here. And the attack is just winning. And there's many lines here. But we actually don't need anything concrete to play this way. It just looks so overwhelming. And we could, for example, say something like this. And 2 pawns for the exchange and massive attack. We're ready to play knight h6 check and knight 6 f7. It's totally overwhelming. It's just winning. Okay, here once again, all the pieces are ready. Look at them, they're ready. And here, he's naked. He's got one defender. All the others don't defend. So this is, in the Netherlands, they talk about 20 points to the king. If you're 20 points attacking the king, it's made. So here we have 10 points, we have 9, we have 3, that's 22. So knight d5, open up, and it's over. Everything else is wasting the moment. So here, white is clearly playing for dynamics. And we want to open up the position so that we can use this huge lead in development. So knight d5 is the right move. Actually, you know, I'm not going to show the various ways people are trying to sort of overthink. I'm just going to show this one way, which is trying to prepare for knight d5, and then suddenly it all comes down like this, which I just thought was sort of funny in a way that this could happen to me, kind of thing. But knight d5, take, and if bishop b7, and here there's number of strong moves. Queen e2 also here. Here knight d5 is not the same. You don't want the queen on e2 in this position necessarily. You don't overthink it. Here, open up and the pieces will come. They're all ready. So take. If bishop b7, as I said here, there's a number of good moves. A queen f5, I simply can't come with what is the next move for black here. It's just over. But also queen c3, I had a line. Could transpose. And it's resignable. And the whole thing is just a catastrophe. Okay. And after bishop d7, here it's important to play queen e4. Make sure that the queen is called back to d8, and we can play rook e3 or rook d3. Not rook d2, because in this position here, we don't have a check on the third rank. So we need rook d3, f5, queen d4. Now, castles is not going to work. My apologies. And here, and totally winning attack. And if rook f8, we play rook e3 and queen f6. But simply using this knight d5 idea when you have it. And here we have one last position. I want to say something here about page 2 that I gave. I gave this to both Sam and another very strong grandmaster, and also Christopher solved it this week. So in this position here, this is difficult to evaluate for a strong player. The other strong grandmaster got it wrong. Very, very strong grandmaster. He got it wrong. It can happen. Here he got it wrong. During the game, Sam got this one wrong. This is also difficult evaluation. This one here, the strong grandmaster got it wrong, which is very interesting for helping him getting a better player. But he should sort of try to make this work. And his main thing was he wasn't sure about something like this, where we have made such great progress, and he was afraid it wasn't enough. Which, yeah, well, again, it's something to work on. But here, this was very easy for them both, and here was the most easy position in homework for them. Just knight d5. There's no reason not to do it. Don't overthink it. Don't create it. It has all the features of you give up the piece and then it will work out. The last position here, again, we have a situation where we have a target. So there's a few more targets here because of it. And there is even a weakness here. And we shouldn't think too much about prophylaxis here. Obviously, there's a direct problem, but also there's some slow maneuvering of trying to bring some relief. The game, bishop g7 was played, and here white should play rook g1 to play rook g3, and it's a playable position. It's unclear. The game went in an entirely different direction, so we shouldn't worry too much about that. But here, the white position here, if we look at the white pieces, it's really a mess. The white position is very fragile, so we should look for an energetic continuation. So e5 is a very natural move. If white takes here, we take back. We have full control of the dark squares. We play slowly. There's no need to do anything. So the only critical move is to take here. And here there's a number of ways to play. So bishop takes c3 was very popular with the idea of taking back, then either take on e6 or rook fd8. And it's a winning attack. White can try e7. And here knight d2 is very nice. And in this position here, black will win the endgame, will take some pawns, and white is not getting coordinated. But there's an even nicer move in this position. After f takes e5, isn't knight takes e5 crushing? No, it really isn't. Because here you lose the strongest piece to attack on the dark squares, and when you take here, the king is running out of the way, and now you're attacking only with the queen, really. Queen h1. Yeah, okay, this endgame here, this is by no means clear. Here, white has very active pieces, and he will get some very nice passed pawns, and he has a pawn for the exchange. Here, this is I would guess the evaluation is probably 0, but I prefer white here. I'm very scared with black here. This probably complication is going to say +1 for white, +2. I'm not surprised by this, not at all. Yeah, Aagaard will take white here. Then we all know it's there. It's +1.5 to 2. This is not the way to play. But here we keep the pressure on, we keep all the good pieces, don't exchange them with bad pieces. And yeah, the rook c8 is coming, and knight b2 and f5, and everything is coming. But here, yeah, no, we had here in okay, here you could say, what if bishop c3 and knight e5? It also looks fine, but I would keep the good piece rather than exchange for a bad piece. Don't be so eager to play forcing moves that you miss out on the chance of playing simple moves that are non-forcing. It's a common mistake to look for forcing moves at all costs. Okay, so here after takes, black has an additional idea, which is knight e5. And nobody saw this, but it's very nice. If queen d4, then here there's no d pawn anymore. And in a position like this, we keep a strong knight. We're taking on f2. We have rook d8 coming. It's equal material now, but white is going to be torn apart. And if take on e5, we take on e6 and have opened the f file. And this is, of course, a very computer line. It's very nice. I think for sure the human line is take here, and we can try this one. And most people probably wouldn't even anticipate e7 coming. But when we're here, something like bishop a5, big attack is strong, but knight d2 is leading into this winning endgame. So I think here, the key point here is here we take this one. Maybe take with the other rook. Here, and then we take this one. I think this is an important thing. And here black should win. Okay, that was a quick rundown of the positions this week. So we turned 100. We've done this 100 times. And of course, there was this 37 of mixed homework before then. 47 weeks. Are there any questions, any comments? When is the 100th birthday party? This was it. we need more work, but I do want to say a nice thing. So Andre, who usually solves the homework, he won the Portuguese. There was 37 before, not 40 for these 100. Andre, he won the Portuguese championship for the 4th time, and he won the last 2 times since he's been a member of the academy. And also some of you might remember that he recently made a GM norm, and I think his rating must be at an all-time high, but gaining 60-70 points since he joined the academy. So that's a good thing. How would I recommend spending time on these positions? So the thing is, if you're meaning page 2, so page 1, let's go through them. So this is generally how to understand the position. Page 1 starts out with a few positions, which is about finding ideas. So here the idea is this king e7 and bishop f3. And the second one here, the idea was this bishop f6 and e6. If you find this idea, you're more or less there. And here again, queen c6. If you find this move, some people did consider it, but didn't choose it. So it is not just finding this move, but this is this is quite important. Here, this is difficult. You have to find out this idea of 96, 94, 94. And it's the most difficult position this week by far. And once you find this, you can see this trick of knight c3, knight b5. It's really a very difficult exercise. Not everyone solved it. Very few solved it. A few did. Here, again, this is calculation. You have to evaluate move orders and find out exactly how to attack the king. There's a number of different ideas. But you've been warned because it's position number 5. And here, position number 6, you should look for mate and try to find out how it is. And it's clear it starts with either knight e8 or knight h5. Find out the difference and try to simply check out as many lines as possible. Where is the homework on chess tempo? Okay, so it requires that you are signed up to our homework, to our yearly membership, and have manually been signed up to chess tempo. Have you gotten your chess tempo account registered with us? Yes. Okay, I will show that in a moment. Okay, just page 2. Page 2, the point of page 2 is to try to find out how to spend 1 hour on these positions. You will never find out which, you will never, you always be guessing. You will never solve all of them. It's not possible to do in an hour, and it's not meant to be possible to do in an hour. So the idea here is that we find out which positions where here you cannot calculate. You sort of have to make a positional decision. Same here. Don't calculate long lines. Try to find out what's important. Here, on the other hand, all the pieces are ready. Maybe you should try something direct. Here, also, you have to find out a way to make the attack work, because there's this big idea of bishop c8. And then you maybe have to try a number of things before you find rook d6. Here, all the pieces are ready. You should try to look at something direct first. If that's not working, make sure that it really isn't working. Knight d5, queen f2. If nothing else, there's knight c7. Here, we can take here, but no, actually there is something else we take here, and over, and that's also what we play against queen b7, and then we win the d6 pawn. So here all the pieces are ready, and you should make use of that because the opponent's pieces are not. While at this position here, again, you should try to look for something dynamic because the king is very weak, and you should do it before white has time. Maybe, Simon. Maybe I was. Some people are saying I was too harsh with some of the marking. Sometimes I am. It's you know, the marking and the numbers and so on. The main point is actually to get the feedback, to see what mistakes you have made. Try again and try to see if you understand why they're mistakes, and you can improve on them. It's training. The points are like a comedy show, you know, a comedy quiz show. They just make it up. I'm giving points, and it's, you know, to do something with your competitive nature. But anyone who wants to argue about points, they've sort of missed the whole point of the point system, which is we have the statistics. Let me just for a moment here go in and show you the latest version of the stats. Here, give me a moment. Okay. So here, let's see. I think I can make this a bit bigger. So we have the stats, of course. The way you I try to make a rating performance. It doesn't work exactly the same way as FIDE is rating performance, because it counts on results in games, and I have to do it over moves. But I take your average rating, I put it into a formula, and I work out, okay, 3 points here is something like this. Now, there's some obvious problems with this, because Sam Shanklin, 27-12, scores most points, but he can never actually make his own rating. And Akko is less than 1800, Shia is less than 1800, and they skew the whole rating performance. And they just need to make something, and they score better than their rating. So it works better for the players in the middle. So, for example, Boris Dimitrievsky, neurologist from Berlin, submitted all 100 homeworks, 2243 rated. He scored 4 on both, I think, and he scores an IM level performance. For him, the rating system probably works quite well, but it's more important sort of like seeing, are you over or under? And it's mainly because sometimes you know, the points can be quite low on average, both on calculation and on mix sheet, and you can see, okay, it was actually difficult, and even a low score is a good score according to the rating system we have here. Let me see here. So here this is sort of some attempts to work on some stats here, but we have to continue with that. So Shia says her results were 2182 and 2158. And yeah, rather than saying you should have an average, then that was it. Okay, so the system is, think of it like the online system rating system or the Indian FIDE rating system, that it lives in a world of its own rules, and you should not sort of compare it with your normal rating too much. You should more see a sort of indication of where were you compared to last week. Maybe you score a point less on both pages, but it's similar performance rating. So it was just a more difficult week. Higher rated players scored less points. And that's really what I do the stats for. Guys, thank you for the class. I have to go. Ashia said mixed sheet was 0.25. You are, I think you're probably around 2100 level rating strength, but in friendly, oh gosh, sometimes the friendly sheet is not so friendly. So Renier and I, we said, did you make any friends this week? And there's no friends, no friends. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go. Thank you for the class. Ashia, in your tournament, keep fighting. Don't give up. Don't feel down because a few games didn't go your way. You're a good player. You're getting better all the times. Keep fighting, and you know, good things will happen over time. It just doesn't always happen when you want them to. Take care. Bye-bye.